Alright, everybody, how are we doing today? Haven't really heard much about Iraq since the 2003 war, honestly. We talk about George W. Bush a lot in this country. There's a good reason for that, but still, I think it needs to be spoken of. As I obsess over my hair. I have a tendency to do that, as you've noticed. God! Anyway, So, Iraqi protesters pack Baghdad Square. Anti-government movement gains momentum. Didn't even know there was an anti-government movement. Well, I'll try to cover them as best I can. Reuters was in Baghdad, and they got this information. It says tens of thousands of Iraqis protested in Baghdad's central Tahrir Square on Tuesday. Excuse me. For a fifth day, angered by reports of security forces killing demonstrators in the city of Karbala and the Prime Minister's refusal to call early elections. I guess they want to call early elections so they can replace all the people who are behind the killings. Just like how Britain wants to replace all the Parliament for not supporting Brexit. A decision I absolutely agree with. It was the largest gathering in the capital since a second wave of demonstrations against Prime Minister Adel Abdul Mahdi's government and the ruling elite resumed on Friday. A populist cleric who helped install the premier called for his removal. The guy gets him installed in the first place and then wants him removed. That speaks volumes. But security forces stationed on the nearby Jamhuriya Bridge lobbed tear gas at protesters in Tahrir Square who tried to break through to the heavily fortified Green Zone, which houses government buildings and foreign missions. With life and blood, we defend you, Iraq, they chanted. The crowd consisted mostly of young men, many draped in Iraqi flags, surrounding streets brimmed with cars, taxis, motorcycles, and tuk-tuks, as more people made their way in. Tuk-tuks? Those weird little Chinese cars? Huh. What are they doing in Iraq? Probably just very easy to buy. Earlier, trade unions announced that they would call strikes following the lead of lawyers and teachers. The latest protests in Baghdad took place after a night of violence in the Shiite holy city of Karbala, where, according to medical and security sources, Iraqi security forces opened fire on protesters and killed at least 18 people. At least 865 people were wounded, the sources said. Karbala's governor and police chief, Iraq's prime minister, and the military all denied anyone was killed, but the security and medical sources said local authorities had been ordered to cover the deaths up. The United Nations representative in Iraq condemned the violence and called for dialogue. Yeah, but if the United Nations history tells us anything, it's that they're usually very, very useless in these kind of situations. They don't do much good. Still, I hope that they can make real progress. The obvious inconsistency between the official report and the report of more local authorities definitely speaks to a genuine cover-up. No question. The Iraqi government has been known for this kind of thing before. They've been doing it for a long, long time. They're hella corrupt. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if our government had a hand in helping them become as corrupt as they are. There might be some leftover American influence in their society. I wouldn't be surprised. Iran can be very Western-like sometimes. Iraq probably can be as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if our government had a hand in helping the corruption. The recent developments across many parts of Iraq, in particular in Karbala last night, are most alarming. Witness reports indicate that live fire was used against demonstrators, causing high numbers of casualties, the United Nations Assistance Mission for Iraq said in a statement. The death toll since the unrest started on October 1st is now at least 250 people. We want the government gone. Our demand is not for Abdul Mahdi to resign. If he resigns, it's not enough. Parliament must go. The parties must go. Protester Salah al-Suwaidi said in Tahrir Square. Yesterday we broke the curfew and stayed the night. We will do so again today even if 10, 20, 100, or even 1,000 die. What happened in Karbala will not be ignored. The blood of our brothers in Karbala and other provinces will not be in vain. In southern Iraq, protesters blocked the entrance to Qasar Commodities port near Basra, slowing operations by around 80%. Port employees and local officials said. These people find the government so unbearable and so unacceptable that they're literally trying to just shut down the entire thing. They want to get rid of their government completely. Now, I do not envy the position of either the protesters or the government. And I'm sorry, but getting an entire installed government to just shut itself down, buddy, your goal is... It's going to be real hard getting there. Unless you get literally the entire Iraqi population behind you, I just don't see you succeeding in this goal. I just don't. It's not happening. Get real. You are not going to shut down an entire government with one small group. You literally need the entire population to pull it off. And even then, that doesn't necessarily get the job done. But going forward, hardship and corruption. The protesters driven by discontent over economic hardship and corruption have broken nearly 2 years of relative stability in Iraq. The country has suffered for decades under the rule of Saddam Hussein, and UN sanctions the 2003 U.S. invasion and civil war it unleashed in the battle against Islamic State, which was declared one in 2017. An OPEC member, it was vast oil wealth, but many Iraqis live in poverty or have limited access to clean water, electricity, basic health care, and education. Most of the protesters are young men who, above all, want jobs. Many Iraqis criticize a political elite they say is subservient to one or another of Baghdad's two main allies, the United States and Iran. These powers use Iraq as a proxy to pursue their struggle for regional influence without concern for the needs of ordinary people, they say. Despite promising reforms and ordering a broad reshuffle of the cabinet, Abdul Mahdi has struggled to address the demonstrators' complaints. Populist Shiite cleric Muqtada al-Sadr, who backs Parliament's largest bloc and helped bring Abdul Mahdi's coalition government to power, invited his main political rival, Hadi al-Amiri, on Tuesday to help him oust the premier. Sadr had asked Abdul Mahdi to call an early election, but the premier refused, saying on Tuesday it would be quicker if Sadr agreed with his rival on a replacement. Parliament passed measures on Monday aimed at placating the protesters, but many said this was too little too late. These included reduced salaries for officials, formation of a committee to draft constitutional amendments, and the dissolution of all provincial and local councils outside the semi-autonomous Kurdistan region. The root cause of grievances is the sectarian power-sharing system of governance introduced in Iraq after 2003, analysts and activists say. After Saddam was ousted, many opposition groups returning from exile divided state positions among themselves, after dismantling the civil service under the banner of de-Baathification, or getting rid of Saddam's people. This was replaced by sprawling patronage networks not just within the new ruling Shiite majority political elites, but also in Kurdistan. Sunni elites eventually followed suit. These elites exploited ethno-sectarian grievances, but Iraqis now are rejecting the system. Even the Shiite majority, who offers 16 years of leading the government, still find themselves impoverished and underserved. Relative stability came at the price of corruption, violence, and a lack of general utilities such as health care, jobs, water, and electricity. Relative stability is a phrase often used to describe a country that is struggling but is doing well enough that no one cares to help them, or no one cares to offer a solution to any of their problems. Oh, you're well off enough off. We don't need to do anything. Yes, you do. They need electricity. They need jobs. They need water. They need freaking health care, which ideally, in my view, should be provided by the market. When healthcare companies have to compete with one another, competition drives the prices down and the quality up. That's basic capitalist theory. That's basic economic theory. But you know what? This Iraq government is not going to provide any of that. I don't see it happening, but I also don't see these people succeeding in taking down an entire government unless they get literally the entire population on their side. So, you're in a rock and a hard place, but... Or I should say, Iraq in a hard place. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. That was terrible. One of those goals has to succeed. Either you get the government to give you what you want and need, or just take them out. Period. We already saw what happened in France. So maybe it's time for a yellow vest or white helmet style movement within Iraq. That might be acceptable. Their grievance is legitimate, so I totally support them, but I just don't think the goal is achievable at the moment. Although maybe if you weaken the government, starve them out via attrition, or find a weak spot, then maybe. But otherwise, I just don't see it being doable. But I completely understand why they'd want to do it in the first place. Anyway, peace!